everyone, welcome to another episode of Think Out Loud, Minds on the Mic, where we talk about life, school, and whatever thoughts come to mind, providing a platform for your ideas. I'm your host, your speaker, your friend, Mark Rebollido. With that out of the way, let's start talking. So before we get to the main topic of the video, I just want to update on the last video. As some of you know, we did the topic on the last episode about how to schedule yourself so you won't be too stressed out about school. You know, school is too hard, what do I do? So that's a really important question because school is important, but not being too stressed is also important. But we all know stress is inevitable and we all know we're gonna face stress in our daily lives. So I really haven't tackled how to de-stress yourself. So one update on that is with my friend Agatha. She said that she usually spends time talking about school with her family while eating with them, and she complains about how stressful school is. So that's a good thing. You talk to your family, you say what's stressful about your situation, about school, and that's a good thing to have a bond with your family. I know some don't have a good bond with their family, but someone they can rant, quote unquote, to. So, you feel that you're not alone with your stress. Next, she says that she usually spends time that way to de-stress, and then she watches a movie or TV shows, and then takes a bath, a relaxing bath, just to get your mind off of things. The stress is sometimes all about you realizing that things are piling up. And if you schedule yourself, things are gonna fix itself, You're gonna do this at this time and it's not too chaotic. So now, because you can do these things, you can start to relax yourself since everything is taken care of, and that's really an important thing. You don't want to be too stressed about your school because of course stress equals less productivity, and less productivity equals low performance in school. And again, school is important, education is important because that is the building ground where we can learn the important things about society, the important things about life. So that's really all I have to say about that. Thank you for your friend Agatha to the update. And a quick side note for all the birthday celebrants out there, happy birthday. My friend Julia is celebrating her birthday today. Actually, when this is uploaded, it is her birthday yesterday. So I just want to say happy birthday. So with that being said, after those update, let's go on to the main topic of the video. So as we all know, today we all are in quarantine. Some of us are still in lockdown. Philippines is already in general community quarantine, meaning we can go out already, but with a social distancing policy. And of course, all of us has been affected by this virus, by this pandemic, and we don't really want to be. Of course, who wants to be affected with a pandemic? But it changed our life fundamentally and how we tackle things in our daily lives. Before we can go out and then talk to our friends, but now we have to wait for them to be online and do this, do that. Although today we are more closer to our devices, so when you call someone, it's possible that they will answer on the other side, but we can't deny the fact that our daily schedule or our daily activities has changed. We cannot go out and take a jog normally because of course things are not the same as 2019. Everybody's talking about how 2020 is the worst year ever. So I want to talk to you about what will be the repercussions of this virus. What will happen after we had this virus? What do you think? What are the possible effects? How did this pandemic affect our mental health? How did this pandemic affect our societies and how we deal with things? So that's a really important topic to tackle since we all don't know what's happening right now. You listen to the news and then it's so much chaos, especially with the pandemic, that it continues to rise every day. And we talk about flattening the curve, and the curve is still flattened, but the people who are infected are still infected. there's still people who are infected, and some of them are in critical cases. So that's important. So how does this affect our psyche? How does this affect our system after this lockdown? So that's what we will be talking about today in Think Out Loud with Mark Rebollido. We will be talking with my friend Joseph Bunagan, and let's start. Today we will be talking to Joseph Bunagan, a fellow journalist of mine, a student in De La Salle, Laguna, and a really good friend of mine. So we will be talking with Joseph. So good morning, Joseph.
Hey, good morning, Mark. It's already noon, so I guess.
Yeah, it's already noon. But maybe if I upload this tomorrow, it's morning. So I'm so glad
Good morning.
I'm so glad that you can join us today in talking about the effect of the pandemic to our daily life. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me too. Thank you.
So let's start with the first question. What do you think the effect of the pandemic is to the people's daily life and thinking? What do you think?
Well, first of all, this pandemic has really made a large impact on how we everyday processes in our daily lives. Everything we do, it's been changed. It's been changed by just because of the protocols that's been in place to prevent the spread of the pandemic. Everything has changed. It will never be the same again.
Yeah.
It really won't.
It's actually really hard to think about because we're fighting like an unseen enemy. You cannot go out.
It's not like a war where you know the enemy and you know who's not. It's a pandemic. You're fighting against an invisible enemy. You have no idea what you're facing.
Yeah.
The coronavirus itself is unpredictable.
Yeah, because first you have people who are really sick with the people who are extremely affected with the coronavirus, who are in critical cases, and then you have people who don't have symptoms at all but still has the coronavirus. It's really hard to interact with the person.
It's very hard to track people who are sick and not.
Yeah, because first you can contact trace and then you can see a person interacted with another person with the coronavirus, but you don't know because that person doesn't show any symptoms. But since now we flatten the curve somewhat, it's the flattening the curve is all about allowing the hospitals and the healthcare system to be able to handle this immense amount of people going.
Flow of cases, yeah.
So if you think about it, a lot of people, especially jobs, the unemployment rate really spiked up.
It's really booming. The unemployment rate is rising because, not many people can attend physical jobs anymore.
Yeah. I read this article on trading economics. I saw that from 5.4 unemployment rate in the Philippines from January, this is January, and then jumped to July, or before July, it jumped to 17.7% according to the trading economics. And that's really high, you see. People in the Philippines are underpaid and still it jumped up.
It really is concerning because, a large percentage of the population already live under the poverty line. Then there's also the issues with.
Yeah, you have the issues with poverty, and you cannot really get those people to stop because first of all, they don't have the equipment to have an online job. You see, they have to go out.
Exactly. Internet access is a real problem in the Philippines, especially in rural parts. You have places such as Ifugao where signals can't really reach. It can't really penetrate deep into the mountains. Then we also have areas that are easily prone to having infrastructure being attacked, such as the southern areas of the country, especially in Sulu.
Yeah. You see, also, these people are poor. You see, they don't have access. I saw another article in the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, it says that the most affected people with the coronavirus are actually people under poverty, since they have to go out to work, and they're not
Apart
even.
from that, apart from the fact that they can't work physical jobs, nor can they access online jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they'll also be directly affected by the coronavirus itself in a way. The medical expenses in the Philippines are
Yes.
fairly expensive.
Yeah,
So
that's really.
paying for the coronavirus treatment, which is you have to pay for quarantine, you have to pay for
Mm-hmm.
isolation, you have to pay for a hospital bed, treatments, medications. It would be financially crushing for people living under the poverty line,
Of-
which
I,
is even worse because the virus tends to spread fast in crowded areas.
yes,
And
I see.
the urban poor, especially around the country's metropolitan areas, live in extremely crowded areas. Manila alone is already the most crowded city in the entire world, with
Yeah,
76,000 people per square kilometer.
it's it. The interaction of people are really, especially in rural areas where you have people who don't have a real home, just living in squatter areas. They need to be in close contact with each other to live in those vicinities, and that, according to the CDC or in the WHO, it's actually it can actually transfer from person to person, you see. So that's really
Apart
difficult.
Then also, rural communities tend to have weaker health infrastructure. Even in major cities, major cities don't have that much of a good healthcare system. But what's more concerning is that our rural areas, very rural parts of the country that are especially vulnerable to the coronavirus, are the ones that have little to no health systems at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes villages don't even have a doctor. It's
Mhm.
just sometimes it's just folk rituals or folk medicine.
Mm-hmm. And that's really
It's
the thing. We don't tend to look at those things when we factor in jobs. When we factor in things that the coronavirus and this pandemic has affected those people in the indigenous people who can be affected by the coronavirus. Those people need health care. Those people need attention, and yet, the lockdowns are limiting every movement in all directions.
every movement is necessary,
Yeah.
especially in industries in rural areas. You have farming, there's agriculture and all deliveries. It's particularly hard to maintain a livelihood like that, especially during the coronavirus pandemic. I remember under the ECQ, even agricultural activities were banned because
Yeah.
of the risk of spreading the coronavirus, which is already hard enough for farmers. They already have low wages. They can't even support their own families. Then they can't even sell or even do any agricultural activities that would help them
Yes.
maintain what they have. It would be crushing. It would be absolutely devastating for the country's poor, for the country's farmers.
Especially if you look at it, since we stop our farming, it's the source of Filipino economy. A lot of it, you can see also in the trade economics that our dependency on the global trade, our trade economics forecast jumped from 5 to 9%, which is, if you look at it, it's not that high, but still, to depend on other countries on your economy, and then their own economies are dropping because of the coronavirus. It is really what we can call an economic recession, especially those people who are farmers, for example. They're not really gonna be able to feed their own families because of the lockdowns. It's really a big hit to the daily lives. So another thing is, since we talked about how it affected a lot of lives and how it is really difficult, another thing is mental health. People in America.
Well, mental health is a particularly concerning issue during the coronavirus pandemic. Many people will expect to be in lockdown for, indefinitely until a vaccine comes out.
Yeah.
Many people will have to live in self-isolation for a while. Most people will just completely be solitary the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. If you look at it, in the Philippines, the stress of daily life is really intense because, of course, the Philippines is a third world country as of the moment, so it's just really difficult. And if we look at America, when it comes to coronavirus, it's actually spiked up, according to the KFF, from 37% of adults stressed about their jobs. It spiked to 45%. Almost half of the entire country are worried about their jobs, about what will happen. And because of that, the mental degradation of the mental health of these people are really concerning.
However, the U.S. is particularly well off because they have a more stable job. They have more stable jobs, have more stable income.
Yeah. No.
What's more worrying is what's going to happen here.
Yes. Because if in America almost half of them are worrying, how about in the Philippines? How about in countries who are experiencing difficulties even without lockdowns? It's really concerning. And if you think about it, the social isolation is also really difficult with people who don't have interactions with people, because we all know about the social isolation and how people can't stand that long without social interactions. No.
It's pretty obvious how the effects of loneliness, isolation, and solitude completely wrecks a person.
Yes.
Now, according to the PSA, around 7.7% of employed persons only spend time in the country, which is also
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm. It's just that it's really concerning about the mental health, because of course we just started the mental health recognition in our society, not even in it started in the first world countries, and then it came to the Philippines in the third world countries, and we just started to recognize that the mental health is really a big issue. We can have a lot of sicknesses, but it can be caused mainly by mental health and by intense stress, And now we have this economic recession, we have this lockdowns which limits the movement of people, and it's really difficult to think that a lot of people are experiencing difficulty. People who are middle class and then upper class in the Philippines, you can say that they're better off, but how about the people, and the Philippines has a large poverty line, and how about those people under that? See,
there's still a large number of people who live below the poverty line in the Philippines. It's really going to be more stressful for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, according to the American Psychological Association, there are many risks from social isolation completely. Everyone is at risk. It really lack of consistent human contact can also cause conflict with with people in general. As people continue to stay away from other people, it will
Yeah, the social isolation are extremely hard, because if you look at the stories of people who were in solitary confinement, they lost their minds, you see. So, the people now are technically in a social isolated place, especially if you live alone and you haven't talked to a lot of your friends in a while, and you're just alone there with yourself. gonna take a mental toll on you. You know, the saying that no man is an island, and that still holds up today.
Humans really are naturally social beings.
Yeah.
We're really meant to be with other people, which is especially hard because of the especially because of social distancing. I mean, not social distancing in general, but isolation, lockdown, especially for people who, well, just stay alone, people who stay alone particularly.
So now we've tackled all of these things, and we know that our government and the UN in general will be taking a lot of action on this. And actually, this is not just a prediction. This is actually a statement of the UN that in the United Nations Development Program, that after this pandemic, they will be making sure that the people are okay, that the people who are extremely affected by this will be taken care of. So it is really important that we have this system where we work together. We don't need to divide right now. We need to work together to fix this. So now we've tackled all of these things that affect of a pandemic. So how about, what do you think society will do? How will society deal with itself after the lockdowns or quarantines are over? What do you think will be the precautions?
Once all of the lockdown protocols are no longer needed, once everything is over, but let me just ask first, are you talking about, if the pandemic is still ongoing, or once it's essentially over?
After the lockdown, of course, you see, people are gonna be more aware of the unseen threats, of this of sickness. We are more aware of our health. So what do you think will be the actions of the government after this lockdowns? How will this lockdown affect our daily life after this virus? Of course, any tragedy will have its repercussion after the tragedy itself.
Well, we could look at examples from the past, particularly during the 1918 flu pandemic. Let's compare two cities that were affected badly by the pandemic. So St. Louis, Missouri, and two cities in the United States, St. Louis, Missouri, and Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. So while the first wave was already declining, St. Louis still imposed its lockdowns. However, Philadelphia decided to lift all of the restrictions and decided to go begin celebrations parades related to, the Allied victory. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of that research.
After World War One, if you look at Philadelphia was struck horribly by the 1918 flu pandemic.
Yeah, you can really compare those two things because, of course, both are pandemics and both are, you see, the past repeats itself, and we can all see all of the actions that we might do in the past. One thing that I saw and I researched is, of course, we all know that Africa is a large part of Africa was hit by the Ebola virus, and what happened there was, this according to the CDC, what happened there is they said no unnecessary flights to Africa. No unnecessary flights to Africa to avoid any Ebola pandemic spread to the entire world. And I think we will see a much more regulated border when it comes to health. No longer will be looking only on your passport, on your visa. We will be looking also on your health.
It really depends on your health condition.
Yeah, because
they've been doing it in airport customs for a while, but I'm really expecting that it will get more strict as the coronavirus pandemic continues. But the thing in Africa during the Ebola outbreak is that everyone was already well aware about how deadly it was.
Yes.
it killed 8 out of every 10 people it infected. However, what's concerning is that the coronavirus, people are downplaying its effects. People just usually think it's just a flu, it's just a mild cold, which is concerning because that way many people will think that it's nothing.
Yeah. If people say it's just the flu, but do realize that when you have the flu, normal people and average people are in extreme agony. They cannot move. Even Michael Jordan, if you see the play, he did good in the basketball game where he had the flu, but still you can see the agony in his face. And this is a top-notch athlete. And if that athlete can experience that amount of pain, how about a normal person? So you cannot just downplay it as it's just the flu, because the flu can really affect you, how you can move. And then the coronavirus itself, the respiratory system is affected. Having asthma is hard.
What's even worse is that the coronavirus is more fatal towards the elderly.
Yeah.
It's noted that more than 15% of people above the age of 60 who contract the coronavirus end up dying from it.
Yeah. Because, of course, elderly people have past sicknesses. And, of course, we need to look out for our elderlies. Of course, children are just developing their immune system. The elderlies, their bodies are already weakening.
They're frail, weak. It's already...
Yeah. And...
They've already had their...
Yeah. And do realize there are a lot of people in the Philippines who are elderly and needs to work, and they're the only breadwinners in their family. So that's really devastating to see. You see jeepney drivers or
people. Yes, it's true. Many people in the country many senior citizens in the country still have to work. Unlike in the US where you have the privilege to retire, you still have an easy retirement.
In the Philippines, you don't have an easy retirement, because if you retire and then your family is still with you and still under the poverty line, you don't have a chance to retire. You still need to work. You see? And yeah, I really hope that, and also the importance of a health system, of a stronger health system, I hope we will see that on a large base on the UN, especially in the Philippines, that we focus on the health of the people, because it is the people's right to have a system where they can be okay with their health, that they can be they have access to healthcare and they're not struggling with it, because not only are the people poor not only is the poverty line large in the Philippines, but also a cause of that poverty line is the people don't have a general access to the healthcare and enough money to access healthcare.
It essentially means that more people in the Philippines are at risk.
Yeah.
Potentially millions could get infected if lockdowns are restricted too soon, if policies are lifted and eased too soon. The government really needs to maintain the strict lockdown, because we're already noticing how the cases have been rising rapidly over the past weeks.
Of course, if you say you can go out now but have a social distancing,
it's hard to enforce social distancing in a country with 110 million people.
Yes, especially talking about a country that is not as big as other countries, which America, Canada, all of those countries are not dense. They're large when it comes to places, but density, they're not that dense. So you can actually put social distancing. You can really regulate it properly. However, in the Philippines, you have those people who are literally working day to day so they could live that day. And you cannot really regulate that if what people are thinking is not their health, but their livelihoods.
And apart from that, our country doesn't have the resources to help its own people anymore. It's going to be hard to reach out to vulnerable communities, urban poor, indigenous settlements. it will be really hard. I mean, the economy has already been wrecked by the lockdown, which could have been avoided through contact tracing and and mass enforcement of social distancing.
So I really hope that we can see more importance, the government giving more importance to healthcare in the Philippines, because that's one extreme factor that is hindering people from being able to live a happy life. Healthcare and poverty, those two things are really the two things that we need to focus on in this country. So I really hope that happens, and I just would like to thank you, Joseph, for joining us today in Think Out Loud. So I really appreciate you talking with us, and that's all. So like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and comment down below what your thoughts are about this pandemic and its effect. Thank you for watching. This is Think Out Loud with Mark Rebollido, signing out.